My name's Finian, and I'm from the organization Kiss the Ground. And our mission is that people are awakened to the possibilities of regeneration. And I wanted to start really quick with an update from Kiss the Ground, the film, the movie that was launched on September 20th. The world has had access to a feature-length documentary called Kiss the Ground that features so many of our colleagues, so many people that folks on this call know of and have worked with. And it really shares this idea on a global level to so many folks who had maybe heard about it or were just starting to hear about this amazing opportunity. And we wanted to share from myself on behalf of the organization that this movie shares a part of the story. It is not the entire story. It does not represent the entire story of what regenerative agriculture is for the world. And we just want to make that clear. I wanted to talk today about the movement and give everyone here acknowledgement for what has happened. I've only been involved with the soil health and regenerative agriculture movement for 8 years, and what has happened in that short time is nothing short of extraordinary. And I want everyone to feel that momentum that has built and see what is emerging and look around them, that this year, 2020, has been so difficult. But at the time that it's been so difficult, it has created a listening and an opportunity. But this has also been building, and we've all been a part of creating the conditions and the opportunity for so many people around the world to access this idea and this movement. So what we're hearing, and I'm sure so many of you on this call are hearing now, is where are we each stepping in to our role and our necessary role to be the invitation, to open the tent so that more can get involved, to take on that we are sharing these ideas as much as we can to new communities, learning from new leaders who are stepping into this space and calling to attention things that had been outside of the regenerative movement that preceded it. Where are we listening intentionally to voices that have been left out? And when are we committing to making sure all of these things are happening now? And that's really where we're seeing the potential for all of us to gather. One of the things that Kiss the Ground that we want to be sure is emphasized going into 2021 is that this movement, the regenerative agriculture movement, is making sure that indigenous knowledge, place-based wisdom is brought up to be regarded as just as necessary and important as the books and ideas around holistic planning, and just as necessary as the science behind soil or the technology that's allowing us to see what is happening. We have to, in our opinion, take that so seriously for us as an entire humanity to achieve these audacious goals of regenerating our planet. Our theory of change is really that, and most people's theory of change really is that our views do dictate our actions, and therefore the results or outcomes of all of our lives. We're still imploring each and every one of the people involved in this movement, new or old, to understand the power of being a carrier of the message, to create the conditions where others can access this idea, to have that opportunity to have those aha moments of the possibilities of regeneration. So we're encouraging each of you to continue to stretch, no matter how much action you're taking, no matter where you are in this movement, to continue and realize your potential to give access to this view to others. As we know in the Albert Einstein quote that it says so well, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Sustainable think, as was just mentioned, thank you so well right before me here. Sustainable think, unfortunately, isn't going to do, and it's killing us in so many ways. So we're needing to all collectively push for a move to regenerative thinking. And the good news is it's good for everyone. So there's not any bad stuff that comes from that. But we're looking at a reality where in most cultures and most civilizations over the last 10,000 years, obviously there are so many great examples where this wasn't happening, but most human civilizations, to create their needs, to produce their needs, have been degenerating land over the past 10,000 years. So recognizing where we are globally to think about sustainability as an option, it really doesn't make sense. And that was said right before I got on by Dr. Ibrahim. So regeneration has to be where we go. And then sustainability makes sense. As a little catchphrase, we say sustainability is just ahead of its time. And we hope you can carry that to your audience as well. This is something that we share with folks to give them access to a different way of having it symbolized in people's heads. If degenerative is the downward curve, sustainable is the circle of put back what you take out, regenerative can be a symbol that takes seriously where we are now and understands that it is building and creating something that is actually functioning at a higher state. So the spiral that goes out. And I'm sure all of you have seen this, but we're talking about a global emergency. We're losing 30 million acres a year of farmable land to degeneration. And now we have a situation where not only in the last 40 years, we've lost 1/3 of our farmable land, but now we're dealing with 75% of land being degraded on the globe. So everyone who's here and everyone out there who's joining this movement is making the call to regenerate Earth. And when I'm out there training advocates from around the world to carry this message, one of the tools I share with them as a great analogy is to talk about what's happening. We're sustaining broken. Our land has been broken. And so when we take seriously the word broken and understand that it's in a condition that's broken, we're then looking at everything we're doing, no matter what technology we're providing, no matter what new advances in farming we have, everything essentially becomes a Band-Aid on top of a broken system. And the analogy I was going to point to here is the cup. This is a picture of a broken cup. The cup, if you ask any audience, is designed to hold a liquid. When it breaks, it doesn't hold the liquid anymore. Therefore, it's not functioning. So when we grasp that sustainability or trying to farm in the conditions we have now, broken soil, we're essentially trying to best utilize broken pieces to have some great performance come out the other end. The idea is that this not only is broken now, but it's becoming more and more broken on its own. We have runaway degeneration occurring where ecosystems are so degraded that they aren't turning around when they're just on their own rest. They're not doing okay when they're in conservation. So what we're talking about is regenerative agriculture can change this. And the simple analogy again is a cup that's broken can be glued back together. And you can have a cup that once again performs how it's supposed to function. Soil is pretty much the same. And the news is that the carbon that's currently in our atmosphere is the glue. It gets pumped through the plant through photosynthesis, shared with all the microbes, as everyone knows. But this glue that these microbes create glue these soil particles together, creating these conditions for life, for water to be absorbed, for this phenomenon called healthy soil to happen. But we want it to be clear that we can rebuild our soil. That's what regenerative agriculture is promising, that we can take something that's broken and bring it back to a highly functioning state. Regeneration. This is what was just talked about, Dr. Ibrahim. This is not the definition of regenerative agriculture, But when we're advocating and sharing with people and trying to keep it simple, if we're talking to folks who are new to this movement, welcoming them in, we can look at this simple explanation: agriculture that's causing regeneration. If you want to simplify it, you can look up the dictionary definition of agriculture and regeneration and put them together. And this is where, when we agree that this is an outcome, regeneration is something that happens as an outcome, we can start to allow people to engage, from young people who are new to this, to engage in this and grasp it very quickly and see why this is a different movement than what was happening before. This is a quote that is one of my favorite quotes to identify the potential and opportunity that we have across the world with regenerative agriculture. What used to take us 15 to 20 years, we're now doing in 3 to 4. Dr. Alan Williams. This is a tribute, I feel like, to the amazing sharing, collaborative efforts, and just the incredible nature of this movement, of people who are out there on the front lines, working together, sharing the best practices and seeing advances because they're unleashing the potential and opportunity of nature at doing its best. They're trying to help nature do what it does best. The advances are still going to keep coming. And that's where I feel like this world is so crucial to have that type of inspiration given to the generations that are coming up into this movement, to say, we need your innovations, we need your skills. And that's where each of us can bring people into this movement with that inspiration. And just, it's economic. And this is just so crucial that we look at farmer livelihood and prosperity as so crucial. When we talk about regeneration, we talk about landscape function increasing, carrying capacity increasing. That means input costs go down. When we're able, all of us, to easily lay out economic arguments of why this works, not just for economics then, but for ecosystem function, for water security, for food sovereignty in regions that have been hit the hardest, regeneration becomes that only option. And this is, I don't want to get too much into this. This is all just simple stuff. Net carbon loss versus net carbon gain is a really easy way for people who are new to this to grasp why we're saying cover crops are important, not letting bare ground, why we're talking about tilling as being an issue, why we're talking about chemicals. We're looking at regenerative agriculture on the most simple front. If you're excited about carbon, let's talk about net carbon gain or net carbon loss and how nature was designed to create a net carbon gain, and we can do it in our farming. And it obviously goes to water as well. And one thing I want to highlight here is when we're talking to policymakers around the world, giving them access to, if we change infiltration and absorption from a half an inch of rainfall infiltrating in an hour, like most Texas ranches, to a half an inch of rainfall infiltrating in 10 seconds, that can change so much for what's happening in a local watershed and flooding and drought. We can grow soil. Farmer Brown making this apparent in Kiss the Ground, the movie, but so many farmers like him. We want to start to identify these pioneering farmers who are achieving the success around the world in different cultures, so that more people can directly connect to people from their regions who are making these unbelievable advances. These are the principles to remind people, and then we're just leaving with a couple quotes. But I ran out of time now, but I just wanted to share with everyone that this movement has incredible, incredible opportunities. And I wish for everyone here to take a deep breath, that we can do this, because if we allow for people around the world to get as inspired as each of us are, we can change the world. And it has to do with a different way of thinking, and it has to do with regeneration. So I'm so thrilled to see the momentum behind this movement. And I want you all to know, from the groundswell that's happening with Kiss the Ground, the film, we want to work with you to catapult this movement so that it is my generation, your generation, all of our generations movement, and that 20, 30 years from now, we all look back and say that this was the time. We gave access to millions of people to this idea, and they got it. And we worked together, and we included everybody. And we really looked to the indigenous wisdom, and we really looked to connecting hearts and minds around this huge potential. So thank you so much for having me. It was a great pleasure to be here with you.